What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the DC edition of the Ragin Nation show. This is just a web series where we're talking about all things that matter to me in the DC cinematic universe. This is episode 2, and what I got right here in this video is some updates for Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. And what we've seen previously is some photos of Ben Affleck as Batman, the new Batmobile, and most recently we saw new photos, or rather a new photo of Clark Kent, and now we have a new photo of the Man of Steel himself, Superman. Check it out right here. Okay, that's not it. This one right here. Let's get rid of Batman. Here he is, the Man of Steel. And this is the first promotional image of Superman in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, what I want to talk about in this video is about a couple of characters that will be introduced to Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. But Zack Snyder decided to talk about what the V stands for in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, typically in versus films like Freddy vs. Jason, Aliens vs. Predator, Monsters vs. Aliens, or Cowboys vs. Aliens, whatever, right? Anyways, the versus is usually spelled VS, okay? And the main reason why they do that is to make it very clear that there's going to be one fighting the other. And that is the whole concept of the film. Freddy versus Jason, they're going to fight each other. Aliens versus Predator, you know they're going to fight each other. They're going to go toe-to-toe with each other, alright? Batman versus Superman is spelled with the Batman v Superman. The reason why he's doing that is because Zack Snyder doesn't want audiences to have to think of a huge emphasis on the versus, okay? And he doesn't want them to think that this movie is entirely about Batman fighting Superman. Yes, they will fight, okay? They have contradicting ideologies, but for the most part, it really isn't about them going at each other the entire movie. You know this is going to be a long movie. You know it's going to be longer than 2 hours. They're not going to fight for 2.5 hours. This is the beginning of Justice League, hence the name Dawn of Justice. But honestly speaking, it's all marketing. They just want to market this film so that fans of Batman will want to watch this movie, and fans of Superman will want to watch this movie, and of course fans of Justice League. Okay, so that's what the V is all about. Now let's talk about Aquaman. Jason Momoa was in an interview, and he actually talked about how his character is kind of like an anti-hero. You know what an anti-hero is? Well, an anti-hero in a movie is a protagonist who isn't necessarily someone who represents heroism or a good cause. Like, he doesn't contribute to a good cause. He's not exactly a hero, and he's not exactly a good guy. For example, my favorite anti-hero is Riddick. You know, from the Chronicles of Riddick, Pitch Black franchise. Riddick is an anti-hero. He's one of the truest anti-heroes, mainly because he's a protagonist that we follow, but he isn't exactly a good guy. He's an intergalactic criminal, but he does lead the film, and at the end of the day, you're rooting for this guy. That's what an anti-hero is. Now, with Aquaman being an anti-hero, that suggests that he's kind of a reluctant hero. He doesn't necessarily want to help Justice League or Batman or Superman. He doesn't want to help them because maybe he is unhappy about what the Superman versus General Zod battle did to his home. You know what I'm saying? All that destruction really kind of caused a storm in his natural habitat. So maybe he's kind of like, he's unhappy about that. And that's why he's unwilling to join the Justice League. And that's why Aquaman is a bit of an anti-hero. He's not a villain or anything. He's an anti-hero, okay? So that is actually very interesting that they're doing this approach. Now, speaking of villains, not necessarily anti-heroes, but villains, according to a reliable source, we have the identities of some of the villains that will appear in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, we already know that Jesse Eisenberg will be playing Lex Luthor, and LexCorp will be very dominant in the film. Well, there are other characters, just like Lex Luthor, you know, a human, not a mutant, not a supervillain. You know, not as someone with super abilities. There's gonna be other characters who are human, just like Lex Luthor, and one of them is Morgan Edge. Morgan Edge, you know Morgan Edge? He's actually the public relations executive at LexCorp. He represents Lex Luthor, and in the movie, it'll probably be like one ambassador to another. LexCorp ambassador Morgan Edge will be going head to head with Lois Lane, who is really a representative or an ambassador for peace, because she's a human, and also she understands the cause of Superman. All right, and considering we're talking about humans, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a scene where Lois Lane and Morgan Edge are going to be seen having some pretty strong conflicting dialogue together. So I'm looking forward to that. Another character that we're going to see is Victor Zsasz. Okay, Victor Zsasz is a knife-wielding serial killer who is a nemesis of Batman. Okay, and what he does is that he carves his kills onto his body. The guy's a psychotic knife-wielding serial killer, all right, and he's very good with a knife. Okay, so that is going to be very interesting. We also have David Kane, who is actually one of the finest assassins hired by LexCorp. Okay, still we don't have any supervillains yet. And finally, we have Amanda Waller, who plays a senator who doesn't trust Superman. And if you're a senator, you're a politician, and you know politicians, you know what they got? They got unlimited resources. Because typically politicians portrayed as villains in films are corrupt. So they have unlimited resources at their disposal, which they're probably going to use against Superman or the Justice League. So, you notice something here? All of these characters that I've described, that with the exception of Aquaman, okay, all these villain characters, they're all humans. They're all connected to LexCorp in some way. They're working for LexCorp. And looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of human villains. Now, we don't know if any of these villains are going to be the main villain, or at least have a really strong presence in the film. For the most part, Lex Luthor, played by Jesse Eisenberg, will have that presence. But I'm wondering, are they going to bring in other characters like General Zod? Or are they going to bring in like mutant type characters or alien type characters, or ones with big supervillain abilities? I'm thinking probably not. Mainly because we already know that Lex Luthor and LexCorp is a rich company, like a maybe even billion-dollar company with a lot of resources at their disposal and enough resources to take out superheroes. And another thing is that, you know what, if we add in like another character like General Zod, a General Zod type character, you know, we're going to get more or less of the same thing that we saw in the last one. And also, we're just going to see this big superhero type action. I know it's a superhero movie, but don't forget we have human characters like Batman. Okay, so we got to make it more balanced out. So I'm actually quite fascinated with the direction that Zack Snyder is going in right now. So I'm pretty happy about that, but I will continue to be excited as they announce more characters. So that's all I got to say in this video. I'm really just here to talk about some of the characters that are going to be appearing in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. The confirmed list of heroes so far, or rather the good guys, is of course Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and possibly Cyborg. But no sign of a Nightwing or you know, Martian Manhunter. Apparently Green Lantern and the Flash are going to be introduced later on. So there you have it. That's all I got to say in this video. Stay tuned for DC Edition Episode 3. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, @RaginNation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. See who really has I guess a more artistic vision, or a more true vision. You know, I